Now, as I was saying, family law, it's a system that clearly needs an overhaul, but a recent review of the system by the Australian Law Reform Commission has been slammed by one senator as anti-dad. Liberal Democrats Duncan Spender is on the line right now. Senator, welcome.
Thanks, Chris.
I should point out that you are the one that replaced David Leyonhjelm at the federal level, right?
Yes, my old boss. He's still providing support and advice, but yeah, I've got the reins at the moment.
So you were doing what for David Leyonhjelm in that office?
I was his chief of staff. I read all the legislation. We came across family law issues a couple of years back, so David Leyonhjelm helped set up this inquiry, pushed for it, along with people like Pauline Hanson from One Nation. But unfortunately, it's not the result we're looking for. It's more of the political correct problems that we've had in the past. So, really disappointing.
So he's missed out getting into the Legislative Council in New South Wales now that vote is done and dusted. So will he come back to take your job now?
No, he's wanting to pass on the reins to the next generation, basically. Right. He's a big supporter of me, so I'm very happy to get that.
I'm only being facetious. What will he do now? What does David Leyonhjelm do now?
Well, he's got his own business. He's in agribusiness.
He's got a real job.
Yeah, he's got a real job, and his business, he's not focused on it a lot over the past 4.5 years as a senator, but he's going back into the world of actually doing real stuff.
Okay, good stuff. What aspects of this review of the family law system are you particularly unhappy with?
Well, the system obviously isn't great at the moment, but at least judges are constrained to have to think of a couple of things that's in the law. And one of them is a presumption that in the absence of child abuse and family violence, they have to presume at the start that it's in the best interest of the child for the parents to have equal shared parental responsibility. Now, this review is basically saying, let's just get rid of that presumption, let judges do whatever they want. The only thing the judges will need to consider is that parents need to be involved in long-term decision-making. So that basically says judges don't have to start with the idea of let both parents have care, if it's possible. They just have to make sure that both parents are involved in decisions like which school the kid might go to. It's really a backward step.
It is a backward step. It's biased because at the end of the day, most cases result in dad moving out. That's just how it works. And so that means the presumption will be for mum to have the kids full-time. And dad doesn't get a look in.
Yeah, it's basically just reinforcing the idea that dads are second-rate parents. And I'm a parent. I think I'm doing a pretty good job. It would be absolutely crushing if I got into a situation where I had to go to a court and there was just a presumption at the outset that I'm a lesser parent, less able to do what I consider to be my most important job. It would be crushing for me, but it also would be bad for my kids, I think. Yeah. I don't think it's selfish to think that I've got something to contribute. I've got my own perspectives. I think men have a fantastic perspective in the raising of children.
Kids need their dads.
It is absolutely shocking. So, and this is not the only thing. Getting rid of that presumption is the idea of this review, but they're also getting rid of the idea, a basic principle, that children have a right to know and be cared for by both their parents. This is... I don't want it to be this case, but this review just seems like it's got a massive agenda. And it's just keeping with the current fashion that dads are second-rate and a lot of them are violent. Through this report, it's just dripping with constant references to parents should be allowed to be engaged as long as it's safe to do so.
So who's specifically on this Australian Law Reform Commission and who has put together this review? Do you know the individuals?
I don't know them personally. There are a whole bunch of judges. In this particular case, I don't want to get into personalities, but there are the leaders of this review are current female judges. But if we drill down a little bit, Duncan, we might find the answer for the more biased approach to custody. Yes, but we have come across many instances where it's not just female justices who end up favouring the mother in the situation. We've got plenty of cases where male judges just seem to take on board the current fashion that dads are second rate. So I don't think it's necessarily a male-female thing. There's a current fashion of thinking that dads are second rate and they can't be as good parents as mothers. I think mothers are doing a great job. My wife is doing a fantastic job as well, but the presumption that seems to be dripping through family courts is that mums do a better job and the kids can get by with just their mums. I think it's bad for kids. It's a terrible injustice for dads as well.
I couldn't agree more. There needs to be a lot more resources put into, I guess, employing more judges to deal with the backlog of cases. That's the first thing that needs to be done. That's as plain as the nose right in front of your face. The other thing is mediation tends to work. In about 80% of cases, we should be allowing a more conducive environment in these more acrimonious cases to lead to mediation. That's the other point that I think needs to be focused on, not tearing up shared custody.
Now, to be fair, this review does go into the idea that alternative dispute resolution is a good idea, and they also have an idea that we should probably try to have family disputes heard at the state level first rather than go straight to a federal court. I actually think where judges are elected, for instance, then they're more likely to actually reflect the views of the entire population, and the entire population doesn't have the view that mothers are always better and that dads are just violent people ready to explode. I reckon we've got to devolve these decisions and get them further away from the ivory towers of federal courts.
You make a good point.